For those nights when you don't just want to have pizza, but you want to elevate it a little bit, it is Stromboli time. And Stromboli, honestly, can be pretty simple. Is this authentic Stromboli? I'm gonna guess definitely not, but this is Midwestern great home Stromboli that we had growing up, and it's really simple. So to start, we're gonna make a quick dough. And pizza dough, Stromboli dough, it does not have to be intimidating. It can be really easy and quick, and it can be a weeknight thing, I promise you. So I'm starting with some warm water, which means between 100 and 110 degrees. You don't want too hot of water because that could kill the yeast. Too cold of water would just kind of be slow in activating the yeast. So to that water, I'm gonna do a little bit of salt. Salt is just a way to balance out all the flavors. Everything needs a little bit of salt. We're gonna do a little bit of sugar too. One, yes, that can feed the yeast. It also helps for browning once you're actually baking the dough and get some nice color on it. So we have that in there. We're just gonna swoosh it up, look at that. Look at it just swooshing. That's all you need to do, is just to kind of dissolve it. Now, to that, I also like to always add a little bit of olive oil. So olive oil, it could tenderize it, but again, it's gonna be a flavor too. So I'm gonna add some olive oil just right into the water, which at first is gonna just sit on top. Water and oil, they don't mix. But you can see, it's gonna be mixed in when we add everything else. Now, I only use instant active dry yeast, which means you don't have to bloom it in water. You put it in with dry ingredients, it's the best thing. I'm gonna start with some flour. And you know, when I do my flour, don't sift it. I just take it, a scoop, overfill, and then just level it off. That way, you're always kind of self-sifting. You're not packing in the flour, which is really what can be the hard part. If you pack in flour and just scoop it right into your cup and put too much in, guess what? You end up with too much flour. And when I do get ready to mix this, I'm gonna get a fork to mix it. So to this, I'm gonna add my instant yeast, which you can do just a packet. I buy it in bulk, but I'm gonna do 1 packet worth. So we're gonna put it right on top. So instant yeast like this has smaller granulars, and they just dissolve really quickly and activate. It's really nice. So to me, a fork works. You just start mixing it up. I'm gonna just form this together. It's gonna be a really sticky, shaggy dough here at first, but it goes together really quickly. So I don't add quite all the flour to begin with, but now I'll just add the rest of the flour. We'll work it until it's smooth, and then we'll have a beautiful dough. So I'm gonna scoop in a little bit more of my flour, and then I'm gonna mix this in. We're gonna have a smooth dough, and we'll move on. As you can see, as you're kneading and working in the rest of the dough, you don't need to always add way more flour thinking, oh, it's a little bit sticky, I'm gonna keep adding flour. When you keep working with the dough, it starts activating and it starts creating that gluten, which helps it become a smooth dough. I like to have a little bit of stick to the dough, enough so it sticks to the bottom, but look how it's clearing the sides. And you know, it's one of those things, once you work with dough, you kind of understand it and you'll learn. It's not rocket science. It will just work with you. And so you can see I'm just kind of forming it and kneading it, which if you want to, and you're not used to working with dough, put a little bit of flour out on your surface, take the dough, and just work with it. And when you get a nice smooth dough, we're just folding it over on itself. That's what kneading is. And what this does is actually form and start working the gluten to create an elastic, smooth dough, which honestly, look at this. As I'm going, you can see, look at that, beautiful. So we're gonna put it in here, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil over the top. It just helps so it doesn't stick as it's rising. Gives it just a nice texture. I'm gonna turn it over in that oil, let it sit, and we're gonna cover it. Now, you can just do it in a warm place, in your kitchen. This is a really simple dough. This isn't like a lot of yeast doughs where we're gonna let it fully double until it's risen 2 times its size. It just needs to sit for a while and rest before we roll it out and make the Stromboli. While it's doing that, we're gonna get a sauce ready. Now, the sauce, you could use any type of jarred or canned sauce you like. You could use whatever to you is your favorite. I like to just make my own quick sauce. I think it adds good flavor, and that way, I don't have to keep something on hand. I can just use what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna take some cloves of garlic, because to me that's the base of a good sauce, some good garlic. I just turned the stove on. I have some oil heating up in a small saucepan, and we're just gonna use tomato sauce, garlic, and some dried spices that we have on hand. And we're gonna make a quick sauce, and that's the best thing. So I'm gonna press the garlic right into this warm oil on the stove, get it warming through. It'll take a few presses because I have a few pieces of garlic, and then we'll move on. The garlic is pressed and it's just warming through, and you can see it's just beginning to want to cook. We don't want to get it bitter color on it. We just want to get it kind of cooking. You can really smell it. It's fragrant. So I'm gonna add a few other things. We're gonna add a little bit of red pepper, not enough to make this spicy, but just a little bit to give it a little heat underneath everything, kind of just bring out some of the flavors. We're gonna add, of course, some basil. Now I'm using dried spices, you could use fresh. The thing is, we always have dried in our cabinet. Why not use them? They have a lot of flavor, they're preserved, and they have all those essential oils in them, and a little bit of oregano. We're gonna put that right in there with a little bit of salt because you need the salt again to balance it all out. We're gonna add the salt in. We're gonna stir that up just to really help these bloom into that warm oil, because a lot of spices, they open up, bring out their essential oils in the warm oil, which I smell instantly already, and it smells really good. So while that's just warming up, while that's blooming, while we're getting all those flavors out of there, we're gonna add in some tomato sauce. So I'm just using regular canned tomato sauce. That to me is the easiest thing to have on hand. I always keep it in my pantry, which makes it easy. We're gonna let that warm through. We're gonna let it just begin to simmer and cook. And then we'll soon be rolling out dough. We'll make a stromboli, it'll be delicious. I pulled the sauce off after it came to a simmer and simmered for a couple minutes, and then I just put it into another bowl so it could cool. But look at that beautiful sauce. So simple. And here, this has only sat for like 20 minutes. And what you wanna see is it relaxing, and this is what you can tell. It's risen just slightly, it's relaxed, it's smooth, it kind of spread out a little bit. You don't need to let it sit and rise. That's the beauty of this dough. It's ready to go really quickly. That's why I'm saying this can be a weeknight meal when you want it to be. It's honestly really simple. So I'm gonna pull out the dough and look at that. Look at how just from sitting in there a little bit, it's easy to work with. It's smooth. Look at that beautiful dough. It's super simple. That's what's great about certain things. You know what? We sometimes think, we just overthink. We think, oh, doughs are so much work. Doughs are so hard. No, they're not. They're simple. Look at how easy this is just pressing out. Now, when you go to roll out dough or press it out, whatever you want, if it starts snapping back at you right away, like you do it and then it just comes back, it means it just needs to sit for a minute. So after you push it and push all the air out of it, let it sit for 5 minutes if it doesn't want to relax for you, and then it will relax. It just depends where it's at in its rising process. It's not a huge deal. So what I'm doing is slightly rolling it out. You know, a rough rectangle would be great. I'm also picking up to make sure it's not sticking because we're going to make a stromboli. We don't want it to stick to the counter. We want this, once we get done, to be easily rolled up. So I'm just slightly rolling it here to make it easier. You know, the beauty of this is don't over worry about it. Don't fret about it. You can see it's pretty easy. I'm picking it up, and if I need to adjust, I just kind of adjust on my own with my hand. Once you have it rolled out and you have it ready to go, which this is, I'm gonna take some of my sauce. This is how simple this really is. I think the thing is, this is really just a version of a pizza. So we're gonna spread out some sauce. I think the sauce ratio is the important part here. We're not gonna use all of our sauce. We're gonna keep a little bit that we can serve with it kind of as a side. And you can tell I'm keeping a little bit from the edge over here. This I wanna keep a little bit open because I'm gonna roll this up. It's a stromboli. So you wanna make sure you don't encompass the whole thing in the sauce, otherwise it would not roll the best. So I'm gonna spread this, pretty simple. And I'm leaving a couple inches over here where it's gonna actually press back in and create a nice seal for it. But look at that. You want a thick enough sauce that it isn't just watery and inundate it with like a wateriness and then it wants to seep out everywhere. So once the sauce is on there, we're gonna put, you could do whatever Italian cut you want. A cold cut, I'm gonna use soppressata. I like soppressata. I like the flavor. I like the ratio of fat to some pepper to some, it's just, to me it's a delicious one. And you can tell I'm kind of just shingling it on there. You don't have to be perfect, but look at that. And we're gonna do some shredded mozz, just some mozzarella, your favorite cheese of choice. And you wanna make sure you get a good dose of it in there because when you cut into this, you wanna see the cheese. I'm gonna save a little bit because authentic, no, for sure not, but I like to sprinkle some on top too because I just think it looks good. So we're gonna spread that on. We're gonna then shred a little bit of some good parm on. I think the parm offers that good funky kind of salty, briny flavor almost. And I think that can be important. It adds a depth of flavor. It adds a seasoning almost that really just kind of finishes it off. So as I'm putting it on there, look at that beautiful, oh, it looks good. And now is the part where we're gonna roll it up. So I'm gonna do about 2 rolls. So once, see how simple that was. Make sure your cheese is spread out. We got the sopressata in there. Gonna do it once more. Look at that. And what we did here was really simply just folded it up. And now what I'm gonna do, so you can see over here, we have that edge that we didn't have all the sauce on. That's gonna help me have a good place where I can kind of sit and pinch it. You wanna just pinch it to make sure. And I'm doing that to make sure that it doesn't come out all the edges. And then these sides I'm gonna kind of roll under just to make sure they're keeping it sealed. But look at this. You have a great little, just like this little beautiful packet here. So I'm slightly adjusting my shape as I do it, just to make sure, look how beautiful that is. I have a parchment lined baking sheet here. Again, that's just to make sure that it's clean, easy to work with. I set it right on top. Do you see what I mean? This is simple, this is easy. Now, if it doesn't go as easy for you the first time, do not feel bad. You know, things change, like we all have to learn, we all have to adjust as we go. And that is not a bad thing at all. Now I do like to drizzle a little bit of olive oil over it, just a little bit. Gives it to me a nice sheen as you're doing it. Just spread that out. It'll give it a nice finish, think of it as. And then I do a couple relief cuts. I think about 3. And what to me that does is as it expands, it helps steam escape from inside. And it just makes it bake to me a little bit easier. You might still get a crack on it. A side where you have the seam, it might crack and that's okay. But this will just help a little bit, create a little relief mark for it. And then on top, I like to put the rest of my mozzarella. I think as it bakes, this gets nice and browned. It adds an element of, well, let's just be honest, beauty to it, but also just gives it kind of a finishing touch that you don't always see and I just really like. So we're gonna put that right on top. We're gonna pop this in the oven, let it bake, let it get beautiful, then we eat. That's the best part. So a few minutes ago when this was done, I pulled it out of the oven. I'm gonna let it cool just a little bit because if you slice into it right away, one, it's way too hot. But also as it cools, you're gonna notice it's gonna fall slightly. That's completely normal because you have a lot of heavy things in there. You have the cheese, you have the meat, the sauce. So it's gonna be very normal that when it comes out, it'll be a little bit more puffed. And then as it cools, it will deflate a little bit, but still, don't worry, not too much. So look at this though. You know it's a good one. You can just pick it up, bring it over to a cutting board, and then we can slice. So your end slice usually from, depending how you fold under that end, will be not the best piece, but oh, look, then we're getting into the good stuff, guys. We're gonna start slicing into this and look, you see the sauce, you see pieces of that sopressata, the cheese, and what I'm gonna do is just pull out here one because, okay, that's what I wanna see. See how we began to get that nice roll in there and then that good melty cheese? Oh yeah, that's the good stuff right there. So to me, you serve it with some extra sauce, maybe on the side, maybe put it over the top. You can even take some mozzarella, some parm. You can grate some fresh parm, whatever you want, but this is the money shot. This is the point of this. This is what you want, this beauty. And so, guys, I'm gonna try it. I got it. I'm gonna dip it. That's good. What I love about it is, it's like, I feel like it's like a Parmesan stick, but like on steroids because you had everything in here. You get really delicious, soft pizza dough-like bread that has a nice crust on it, tons of melty cheese. That sauce has good balance with great impact and flavor. Then the sopressata gives you that little bit of something special. It's delicious. It's a great meal. It's just a great dish and it's really easy to make. You can make this on a weeknight. You can make this for your family. You can put it together really quickly and you can have leftovers if you want, if there's any left. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you share this video around because yeah, that helps other people find me, but it helps everyone see how easy and doable this kind of food is. If I can do it, you can do it. We can all do it and we better because it's delicious. So check my website, wiseguy.com for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Print them off, use them, share them around. That's the point. Food should be shared and bring us together. So make some, enjoy, share. That's the best.